All right, we'll give both streams just a second here to get synced up, and we will go over today's plays. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for February 3rd, 2022. Qs down 4.1%, SPY down 2.44, and IWM down 1.97. Now the big culprit here is Facebook. Facebook down 26.5%. All right, big gap down in the Qs. All right, there's the closing bell. All right, so what did we talk about, or what did we expect coming into today for the Qs and SPY? We were staying bullish as long as we didn't trigger the sell setup. Well, with the Facebook gap, that immediately triggers the daily sell setup. Now, with the daily sell setup, which we have been anticipating for days, right? Ever since we got the move up into the declining 20, we talked about how we're moving up into resistance. We'll see how long this hourly grind goes for. Well, that gap down brought the Qs, the gap down in Facebook brought the Qs down, triggered the sell setup, and on top of that, we got follow through. Okay, so what does that mean? Next hourly sell setup, next hourly breakdown, bearish. So a pretty impactful gap by Facebook to really get this move started on the Qs, to trigger the sell setup and to get follow through. So with that really switches for the market our bias from bullish to bearish. As soon as that happened, really, we lose the bullish bias, we get follow through, right? And now looking bearish. Okay. Now the other thing to keep in mind here is that we have Amazon reporting. All right. So could that have an impact? Of course. Okay. So we'll see, tomorrow what ends up happening. Right now, I'm expecting on any kind of sell setup, base breakdown, lower. Okay. We got the daily sell setup. We got some follow through to the sell setup. All right. So expecting follow through. If we, gap up, I think it'll be a tough call. Be a pretty tough call. If we gap up here over today's high, then we'll be sandwiched in between resistance and support if we gap up into here. So it'll be a neutral start for me if that happens, okay? Because that will be a pretty decent shock value if we do gap up over today's high, okay? That's just what comes with earnings season. We get a lot of gaps, but a lot of times with the big names, they also are going to move the market. All right, let's take a look at today's plays here. First, the ZEV trying to transition on the daily. Showed a lot of strength here right at the open. Had a nice pullback here, and then a 2-minute buy setup is what I liked the most here, because it was pretty sloppy initially, although it was staying strong right in here. Just a 2-minute buy setup right off the rising 20 on the ZEV. This was what I went after. Sammy went after the BCDA, which actually ended up having a nicer move here. He played after this pullback, so that was actually pretty nice. ZEV should be okay. Ended up being okay too. Got to, I think, 16, about a little over 2 hours. Not much more. I needed about 46 or so for 2 hours, and then went another like half hour above it. And then the last piece just trailed underneath the hourly. So that actually more or less break even. Lost a penny or two on the runner, okay, on the ZEV. So couldn't hold. Eventually the market came in quite a bit. Next play, CLVT. Gap down here, move up, gapping down underneath the bars, underneath the base. From last earnings season, this is very much like the ST&E. You see this ST&E from last earnings season, moving up, and then we play the gap down when it clears. So I liked it a lot. I was in it till almost end of day We played this, actually a breakdown later, right in here. I was considering that one, went a little fast there. I was considering that. And we played that, and there were times where it looked pretty good. I think it was up about half an hour. It was up about half an hour. But then as the market continued to come lower, it wouldn't drop. So we did end up killing this for about a half hour loss. So that was kind of disappointing. But as we talked about yesterday, right, we want to be carrying things like this. This is like perfect for the carryover list. Narrow bar, really nice gap. Okay. Now, I talked about yesterday, the LDI, because I played it yesterday as on the carryover list. It was even better this morning, but I couldn't get filled on the LDI. Look at this. Base breakdown right here. Right? I was in it yesterday until the end of the day. I decided not to hold it overnight, but man, there it is. Beautiful, right? So the carryover list, I mean, I thought yesterday was decent, but man, that was a nice drop. So CLVT, that's going to be on the carryover list for tomorrow. We have some other ones, just primarily, things that have really nice gaps that don't quite follow through. The more narrow the body, the better. Okay. So, and then we'll still have our own gaps list to work with tomorrow too. Right? Doesn't mean everything that has a nice gap isn't going to follow through. Plenty of things will. XYL was nice. Didn't end up playing. I thought it was a little bit too extended. Snap had a nice gap, right? Clearing and some decent follow through there. So, but for the ones that don't, that just gives us more to check out tomorrow. Okay? All right. I hope you did well today. Things are definitely starting to pick up a little bit. It's definitely getting busier. It's taken a little bit longer than I would have expected for earnings season to really get into full swing, but it feels like we're getting there. So that's at least reason to be optimistic. Okay? All right. We'll be back at it tomorrow to close out the week, and I'll talk to you then. Have a good evening.